In the land that is now Togo, nestled between the mountains and rivers, there lived a powerful and feared ruler named Togbui Agokoli. The land was lush and fertile, teeming with life, and the people were strong and skilled in farming, weaving, and crafting. The kingdom was prosperous, but the shadow of Togbui Agokoli loomed large over the people, for he was a ruler both revered and dreaded. Togbui Agokoli was a man of great strength and wisdom, but he was also known for his ruthlessness. He ruled with an iron fist, ensuring that his people were disciplined and obedient. His castle, built from the finest clay and stone, was an imposing structure that overlooked the entire kingdom. The walls of the castle were high and thick, a symbol of the power and authority that Togbui Agokoli wielded. But Togbui Agokoli's reign was not without its challenges. The people, though strong and skilled, began to grow weary of his harsh rule. Whispers of discontent began to spread through the villages, as the people yearned for freedom from the heavy hand of their ruler. They spoke in harsh tones of rebellion, of rising against Togbui Agokoli and reclaiming their lives. Togbui Agokoli, ever vigilant, caught wind of these whispers. He knew that his people were growing restless, and he feared that they might one day rise against him. To prevent this, he devised a plan to test their loyalty and obedience. He summoned the strongest men of the kingdom to his castle and presented them with a challenge. They were to build a wall around the entire kingdom, a wall so high and so thick that no enemy could ever breach it. The wall was to be constructed from the finest clay, which the people had to fetch from the distant mountains. It was an arduous task, but Togbui Agokoli believed that it would keep his people occupied and prevent them from thinking of rebellion. The men accepted the challenge, knowing that to refuse would mean certain death. They set out to the mountains, carrying their tools and baskets, and began the laborious task of digging clay. The journey was long and treacherous, and many men perished along the way. But those who survived returned to the kingdom with their baskets full of clay, and the construction of the wall began. Day after day, the men toiled under the scorching sun, their hands blistered and their bodies weary. But they worked tirelessly, knowing that their lives depended on their obedience to Togbui Agokoli. The wall began to take shape, rising higher and higher with each passing day. It was a magnificent structure, a testament to the strength and skill of the people. But as the wall grew taller, so too did the people's resentment. They had sacrificed their blood, sweat, and tears to build the wall, but they knew that it was not for their protection, but to keep them imprisoned under Togbui Agokoli's rule. The whispers of rebellion grew louder, and the people began to plot in secret. One night, as the moon hung low in the sky, the leaders of the villages gathered in a hidden grove to discuss their plans. They knew that they could not defeat Togbui Agokoli with force, for he was too powerful. Instead, they decided to use their cunning and intelligence to outsmart him. The next day, they returned to work on the wall, but this time they worked slowly and deliberately. They made mistakes, mixing the clay incorrectly and causing sections of the wall to crumble. They feigned exhaustion, collapsing from the heat and slowing down the progress of the construction. Togbui Agokoli grew frustrated with the delays, but the people insisted that they were doing their best. As the months passed, the wall remained incomplete. Togbui Agokoli grew impatient and demanded that the people work faster, but they continued to stall, using every excuse they could think of. The ruler's frustration turned to anger, and he began to punish those who he believed were slacking in their duties. But the people had grown tired of his tyranny, and they were no longer afraid of his threats. Finally, the people decided that it was time to act. They knew that they could not destroy the wall that they had built, but they could undermine it. They dug secret tunnels beneath the wall, weakening its foundation. They spread rumors of an impending attack, causing Togbui Agokoli to divert his attention and resources to defending the kingdom. One night, as a fierce storm raged through the land, the people put their plan into action. They gathered in the tunnels, and with all their strength, they pushed against the weakened foundation of the wall. The ground shook as the wall began to crumble, and with a deafening roar, it collapsed, leaving a gaping hole in the kingdom's defenses. Togbui Agokoli was furious when he discovered what had happened. He ordered his guards to round up the leaders of the villages and bring them to his castle. The people knew that their time was running out, but they refused to surrender. They gathered their families and belongings and prepared to flee the kingdom. As the sun began to rise, the people made their way to the breach in the wall. They knew that they had only a short window of time before Togbui Agokoli's guards arrived. The elderly and children were the first to pass through, followed by the women and men. They moved quickly and quietly, hoping to escape unnoticed. But Togbui Agokoli's guards were not far behind. They caught sight of the fleeing villagers and gave chase, shouting and brandishing their weapons. The people ran as fast as they could, but the guards were gaining on them. Just as it seemed that all hope was lost, a figure appeared on the horizon. It was Togbui Agokoli himself, riding his majestic horse and flanked by his most trusted warriors. The people froze in fear, knowing that they could not outrun the powerful ruler. But as Togbui Agokoli approached, something unexpected happened. The earth beneath his horse's hoofs began to tremble, and the ground split open. The mighty ruler was thrown from his horse and fell into the chasm that had suddenly appeared. The people watched in disbelief as the ground swallowed Togbui Agokoli whole, leaving nothing but a cloud of dust in its wake. With Togbui Agokoli gone, the guards stopped in their tracks, unsure of what to do. The people seized the opportunity and continued their escape, crossing the border into the neighboring land. They were finally free from the tyranny of Togbui Agokoli, and they vowed never to forget the sacrifices they had made for their freedom. The people settled in their new land, where they built a new community based on cooperation and mutual respect. They lived in harmony with the land and each other, and they prospered for generations to come. As for Togbui Agokoli, his name became a legend, a tale told by the elders to remind the young of the dangers of tyranny and the power of unity. The story of Togbui Agokoli and the people who defied him was passed down through the ages, a reminder that even the mightiest ruler can be brought down by the strength of the people.